Welcome back to the channel. I'm Dean, and this is Do It with Dean. Follow along with me as I rebuild this 2000 Club Car Carryall 1. This will be part one of several parts. This was a $350 marketplace find. I hope you enjoy. Well, I got the cab off. Got to get this nasty cowling off of here. When I was taking the cab off, I found out got some little some broken aluminum here. Both sides broken off. That's not supposed to be that way. So I'm gonna build some brackets, weld them in, and get that squared away. I'm gonna build a tray for my battery. I think I'm just gonna, I've got some 1/4-inch plate aluminum. I think I'm gonna build a bottom for it and then wrap it in 1x1 aluminum angle. Just a cradle for that battery. I'll probably plate off these two areas on the sides like I did on my other one, and I'll mount my onboard charger here. Still waiting to find a cowling. They're kind of hard to find with no cutouts in decent shape, but I think I found a Carryall 1 donor that's got a lot of the parts that I'm going to need in it, and I found it for a couple of $100. So that's where we stand. Every single bolt has to be cut and worked out. Very difficult to get them out on these old carts. But all in all, not too much to do here. Just gonna get the battery sitting in a nice cradle, get the cowl on, got to put an ignition in, and I'll start refurbing this this cab. This is a Curtis cab. Very difficult to find the doors for these, so I'm still looking. But either way, I'm going to run the cab without the doors if I need to. But I'm going to paint it up, probably undercoat the inside, and paint up the outside. All the other glass is good. I got one door, got the right side door. I just need the driver's door. I'd like to find it. They're just hard to find. Anyway, that's where we're at. Well, when I was taking this seat off, you can see that there's where the bracket bolts down for the backrest. It's broken here, and it was broken here. So when I took this Curtis cab off, the only thing this backrest was attached to was this Curtis cab. So I think what I'm going to do here is I fabbed up a piece of aluminum here, piece of channel to give it some support. I'm going to weld this in and then put that plate back over and re-drill it so this thing has some support here. I'm going to go ahead, that side's not broken yet, but I'm going to go ahead and do both sides. See if I can get this thing sitting back in here correctly, and then what I'll do is put a piece of aluminum angle here and either bolt it in, bolt and weld it, so that this piece that's broken here on the corner will have something to go down on it. It looks something like this. This aluminum just gets so brittle if it's not tight and bolted in. If it's moving, it's going to crack. I had to fix the frame on another one of these Carryalls the same way. It just, something cracked on the frame. It's not too bad if you're just repairing it, but those thick frames you're going to have to heat. But I think I can just make these pieces in here, and I'll put another bracket on there for support and then drill it out. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm gonna try to get this welded up and I'm gonna build a bracket down there for that lithium battery to sit in. It's too long to sit between them, and it won't stretch out long ways, so I'm just gonna straddle it. Those lithium batteries don't have to be flat. They can be mounted in any position. So I'm gonna let it angle to the front. I don't know, if I get creative, I might build some standoffs for it so it stands flat, but it just barely fits under the seat for those of you wondering, and I'll update with the dimensions of this Cloud Energy battery that I'm using. I've used several of them and I like them a lot. So in lieu of getting a different kind of battery, I'm gonna go ahead and make it fit. Well, it's not perfect, but it's sturdy. I'll put that piece of channel in there on both sides. Gonna sturdy it up. Then I'm gonna drop a piece of angle across here. Drill these holes, bolt it back down, and I think that's gonna be fixed. That's not the only support. That Curtis cab bolts to the back of here too, and to here, so should be plenty of support. I just didn't want that seat not attached to anything anymore, so I think that's going to solve that problem. That piece of channel down there is going to stiffen it up fairly well. Okay. All right, so what I did was I went ahead and bolted these aluminum plates that I made up, went ahead and bolted them to the frame, and I'm going to go ahead and tack these up, and while they're bolted into place, I figured it was better like that. So I got the seat about where I want it. I'm going to tack this bracket down here real quick. Tack it up a couple places. Before I take these brackets off of here. Go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Seems like I'm always fixing stuff. I had to fix the spool gun. Oh. Not like that cold aluminum. All right. Go ahead and take these off. Finish that up. Dirty aluminum is hard to work with. Let's see here. Get some light on there. I need that microphone. That's why I'm not a welder. Yep, I suck. I got the new front end just mocked up for now. I'm not sure if I'm going to refinish it or paint it or what yet. But if you're one that likes to rebuild these carts, trying to find a front end is somewhat challenging, especially if you want one unmolested with no headlight cutouts. They're getting harder to find now. A lot of people, rebuilding, flipping these golf carts, and the market for these on Facebook is slim to none. And if you get on eBay, it's anywhere from $200 to $500 for one in this kind of shape. I found one on Facebook Marketplace. Actually, I didn't, but I saw an ad, and in the picture there was a stack of DS bodies and front ends on a crate. So I called, and it happened to be a business, and they said, man, somebody came and bought the whole pallet from us, probably 10, 12 bodies complete. I said, well, I'm looking for a DS front end with no cutouts and for headlights. And the deal with that is you don't ever know what headlights were in there. So if you're looking at a front end, there's the halogen lights were different cutouts than most of these LED kits today. And you just never know what you're going to get. So the best thing to do is find one with no cutouts. I don't plan on cutting them out anyway, but anyway, he said it turned out it was a business, and that business was called Golf Carts of Texas. And he said, man, let me go look in the shop and see if I got anything. He put me on hold, comes back, said, I got one that's in good shape with no cutouts, $75. I said, sold. I'll be there tomorrow. Went to work that day. Next day I get up and drive over there, and as I'm pulling up, fire trucks are pulling off. The business is completely burned to the ground. And at that point, I just given up and decided that this was gone in the fire. And because I'd asked him, put it behind the counter, put my name on it. I'm gonna come get it in the morning. When I pulled up, I just gave condolences for their business. Basically, told him, was talking to him, and he says, I told him I'm the one that called. He goes, man, you ain't gonna believe this, but I have your hood out there. I said, man, don't even worry about it. He said, no, you came this way, so I made it worth his while. This is probably the only surviving piece of that fire. Again, that's Golf Carts of Texas. They've been in business over 20 years there in Bay Cliff, Texas. Big shout out to them. They got a mess over there. They lost, I think he said, over 60 new carts and all kinds of custom work they were building for customers. But anyway, if you're looking for a DS body, good luck. They're getting hard to find. So let me get back on this. All right, so got a little frame up here. Outline the battery for a little frame. And then I think what I've decided to do is build a plate here and then put some standoffs here. It gives me just enough room with this Cloud Energy battery. If I take it from about these braces right here, if you can see, I'm gonna move that plate back just a little bit. And if you put that plate here, because the height changes depending on which direction you slide the track. But I'm going to fine tune the plate. But I'm going to fine tune that a little bit to make sure that I have that battery's 9 inches tall, and I'm about 8 3/4 from here. That's the best way I can come up with it, unless I just leave it at an angle. But I just don't like that angle. It doesn't hurt these lithium batteries any, supposedly. But I'm going to try to build a nice plate. I'm going to put that angle on top of it, and we'll see what happens. Well, still working here. You can see I notched out the corners here just a little bit on each side. And I notched out for that V-glide, and where this is going to go is about right there. Let's see if I can get it about right there. And I just needed about 1/4 of an inch or so to get that. And then I'm going to build some standoffs underneath here, and I'll have it sitting level about right there. Nothing's touching, and that's how I'm going to do that. And that gives me, right there, that gives me 9 inches from the bottom of that, from there. So I had to take in the extra measurement for this. It is so close. It's going to be probably 1/4 inch above the terminals on this battery. The seat, because of these repairs I had to make, is going to sit just a little higher. Probably 1/4 inch. So I've seen people try to build trays going the other direction, but in this Carryall you can't, because of, I guess you could suspend it below this. I didn't want a battery down there, especially a lithium battery, where it could get damaged. But I think this is the best solution. At one point I considered moving this tray over here, but I didn't want to have to build all that structure here to support it. It just can't go into the side. But this is going to work out just fine. And that's going to be the new home for the battery right there. Okay, so change of plans. I was going to take this thing and build those standoffs under here and make this plate level. I just couldn't get it underneath the threshold here, doing it like that. And the way I did this was, it's notched out around that V-glide, and it's sitting there pretty good. And I didn't want to weld this this tray to the frame, only because you know, if somebody wanted to adapt this for a different battery, I want them to be able to unbolt this. So what I'm going to do is just drill some 1/4 inch holes through here and put some stainless bolts and bolt that tray down. And I think it turned out pretty decent. I think it's going to be fine. The way it's sitting now, it's under the threshold, it's off the V-glide, and it's going to sit within these rails pretty snug. Either I'll build a tie down for it, or they actually give you some straps with these batteries. And it's 70 pounds, so it's going to sit down in there pretty nice. Let me take this tray out of here and give some measurements in case somebody else wants to, you know, do something like this. So this thing is 21 inches long, and you can see the cutout from the left end over there is at 17 to 21. And as far as the other direction goes, sorry about this. The other direction goes, this thing is 11, I'm sorry, let me measure it from the back side so you can see the actual dimensions. And this thing is 12 inches deep. So 12 inches deep, 21 inches long. right up here just for reference. I notched out about 2 inches on each end. And that's just so it rides just a little below that frame. I didn't want to bend it, so I'll just cut it out so that I get another 1/4 inch or so, 1/4 inch to get it in the frame. But, you know, I had a sheet of 1/4 inch aluminum, so I like to build all this golf cart stuff out of aluminum. It lasts forever. This frame, I just framed it out to match the bottom of the battery. I'll put some foam down here just to protect the bottom of the battery. Other than that, that's going to be my battery tray. Let me get it mounted in there and drilled in, and I'll get the battery set in there. All right, we got this mounted in here. It's bolted to the frame, and that's really the only way I can see doing it. If you can see that right there, it's not going to touch. And that's probably the best situation I can deal with right there. Battery's at a slight angle, but I think I'm like the way it turned out. Everything's out of the way. Battery's gonna sit in there nice and secure. So I'm gonna tighten these bolts down and snug it down real good. I'm gonna get another 1/8 of an inch or so. Anyway, it turned out pretty good. I'll take it. Well, I decided to go with this matte black color. The white, I think, was just going to be too much white on the cart for leaving the front part green. It turned out pretty good. This is 2 coats of matte black. I'm not a painter by any means. I've probably painted 6 things in my life with a spray gun. But this paint was pretty easy to spray. This is just enamel matte black. I mixed it with a reducer 8-to-1. It sprays wonderfully out of a 40-year-old non-professional spray gun. It's an old Binks gun. It did pretty good for a beginner. There's not a run in the whole thing, so something to be said, I guess. I at least got that part down. But I thought the black would, the matte would cover a lot of the imperfections. If you look, close, there were some areas that were rusted that I didn't body fill, and I just knocked all the rust out of them. But the factory carts, the newer ones than this one, the cabs are matte black, and I think they either actually paint the tops flat white, or it's made out of something else that's white. But if the heat's a problem, I'll redo it in white in the top. But yeah, just to prep, I knocked it down. I think I started with 220, and then 320, and then 400, and then some 1500 in places, and wiped it down real good with thinner, blew it off with an air hose, and started painting it. So it's not like painting the car. I wasn't trying to achieve that kind of finish, but I did want it to look somewhat factory, and I think this color worked out really well. It's going back on this cart, and I decided not to paint this cowl just in the interest of time and money. This one's in really good shape, so I decided to leave it alone, and I think that matte black sitting on top of it will look pretty decent. The paint I'm using is actually sold by Tractor Supply, and it's Magic. Tractor, truck, and implement. I painted some other things with it, and I like the paint. And I've got it reduced down with their reducer. And like I said, I'm shooting it 8-to-1, and it shoots really good through this old Model 62 Binks gun that's probably 40 years old. Nothing fancy, but it is a quality gun. turned out pretty good. I'm gonna put the final coat on it, and I'll shoot another little quick video of the final coat in a minute. All right, so 3 coats. Put the cab back on there. Got the little front cowl on there. Coming along. This worked out pretty good on the inside and outside. Got a little touch up to do. A couple places. I think it was the right choice to paint it that matte black with that factory color front end on there. Let's see if I can get it all put back together. It's gonna be near impossible to find a door. There were so many of these different cabs built by Curtis that trying to find a door for it is near impossible. I decided to go ahead and use it without the doors for now. I'll save the door I have. See if I can ever come across another one. If so, I'll paint them up. But, coming along, got a little more to do. All right, so I need to find a place to mount my charger, my onboard charger, and my fuse box and step down converter. So I think what I decided to do here is put a couple pieces of aluminum in my last couple of carts. I put some plate down in the bottom and mounted things flat. Lesson learned. I'm not going to do that anymore. It throws too much mud up, especially the lift kit. I did mount my converter here in a previous video, and I think I like the way that worked out. So I'm going to put this piece of angle here, recess this piece of angle down here a little bit to make it sit straight up and down, and then I'll put a piece of plate over the top of it. Had my last charger mounted down here, didn't like that, so I'm going to mount the charger here because of its proximity to the port where I'm going to put that NOCO adapter for 120 there. And then over here, I think I'll wire up my step down and my fuse box. And I think that'll make it nice and neat and won't collect so much mud from the bottom. Let me cut out a piece of plate and get that going. All right, so getting this angle in here. What I do is I just take, and I go ahead and rivet this piece on. Just gives it clean. Since this is flush, take you something like one of these bits and countersink that plastic like the factory does. And I just put some rivets in. Just gives it a clean look right there. And I'll bolt the bottom on. If ever given the chance to decide whether to work with aluminum or steel, it's definitely going to be aluminum. So much easier to work with. So I cut this plate out, and I'm going to go ahead and fit it up and get this plate mounted in the back. One more. It's going to work out real good back there. keep it out of the water, keep it dry. Yeah, I have another one of these, and although it's coated in mud, it didn't hurt it any, but I don't like all the mud all over it, so let me go ahead and change it up a little bit. Get this mounted up on this plate. And we'll get it sitting in there. If I can get this thing finished up. And now I'll do the other side for the converter, the step down reducer. I'm going to build an exact same plate on the other side. Keep it all up dry, out of the way. Anyway, we'll be back. All right, nice and clean. Got the 1/4 inch plate in there like we talked about. Put the bracket on the bottom, got it leveled, got it bolted down and installed, and that's going to do it for the charger. Of course, all this will be hooked up to the no-co port as soon as it comes in. And then I think I'll build a duplicate panel right there for all the other stuff, the fuse box and all the rest of it. So one of the things I was doing was whenever you put an onboard charger on your cart, maybe you're doing a lithium conversion, or maybe you just want any kind of onboard charger. I've had good luck. I like these no-co products. They're really well built, and I've used several of them now. I think they're a quality product, and if you're not familiar with these, this is this is going to attach to the onboard charger inside the cart. And what I do is replace the factory charge port with this port. And this, so all you got to do is plug your extension cord into the outside of your buggy. And with a lot of lithium batteries, these chargers come with them. Even if it doesn't come with them, you can still use one of these and replace your old 48 volt or 36 volt charge receptacle. The problem with that is the hole for the factory port is much larger than this one. So if you try to put this in the hole from the factory hole, the screw holes are going to go into the empty space where there's a void. So I know there's some people with YouTube channels that build these on a 3D printer, and I'm sure they're real nice. You can buy a piece of 1/4 inch ABS plastic. This is textured on one side. I've built several of these, and of course you can see here, this is the second one out of this piece, but I think this piece is like somewhere around, $15. Well worth it. You can cut this with your skill saw, relatively easy. Just be aware that when they ship them, they're not square, so you'll have to square it up. But I build this 4x4. This is 4 inches by 4 inches. Center, measure and center it. Take you, I think it's a 2-inch hole saw, but confirm that. I want to say it's 2 inches. But take you a hole saw, start it in the center where you centered your hole saw, and make the appropriate size hole. And now this will cover anything that the void from the big hole, and this makes for a nice clean look. I enjoy this on a couple of carts that I have already, and I'll just take some self tappers and drill into the material, or some bolts, whatever your material is. I build carryalls, so they're usually aluminum. So it's makes for a good clean installation. And then of course all this will show later will get connected to the charging port. To dress these edges up on this vanity plate, so to speak, um, I just took my sander and sanded it down. I cut them on a table saw so they're real straight. I have routed this before, but it puts plastic all over my router bits, and I don't like it. So I just take it and take a piece of sandpaper, kind of bevel the edge a little bit. Um, anyway, it works out good, and it hides the hole from the factory charge port. Let's put that aside, and let's talk about the step down reducer and um, the fuse box, and the reason I like to put a relay on these. Um, so you don't have a choice. The most of these golf carts, if you're refurbishing them or rebuilding them, converting them over to lithium, or changing out your power supply, most golf carts do have a step down reducer from the factory. I haven't had much luck with them. I think this is much simpler. You're going to find in most club cars, it's going to be a narrow fuse block, about 3 or 4 inches long. It's going to be below, if it's a series card, it's going to be below the forward reverse switch somewhere down there by the brake lines. Uh, you're going to see one positive lead going into it and 4 or 5 fuse outlets coming out of it. Most of the time, those blocks are broken. I just don't trust them. I yank all that out, and for $13, I think you can actually get one without this screw, which it's so hard to get the plastic covers off the one without the screw. I would suggest getting this upgraded version that holds the cover on there with this thumb screw. But $10 to $13. I think this one's $13 on Amazon. Um, if you need more circuits than this, you might consider something else. This has 6 circuits, more than enough for me. I just don't need a bigger fuse box, but you can buy whatever fuse box you like. But these work out really good for me. This is some people call them buck converters, but this is a um, DC to DC converter, and this is 48 volts down to 12 volts. Um, this is $20, plus or minus $1 or $2. This happens to be a 20 amp version. I would suggest getting a 20 amp version. There's a lot of these that look identical that are 10 amp versions. I've used 10 amp, but depending on what you want to put on your cart, you may want to just go on and for the same price get a 20 amp converter. But this is going to take, you don't have a choice when you have a 48 volt battery, like in the case of the lithium. You did have a choice before when you could take one of these converters, and in the proper way would have been to go from the first positive and the last negative from your entire battery pack so that you don't tear up the batteries. But then, some people would opt to take them and just put them across 2 batteries for 12 volts to get their power. But this is much better. The issue with this style is that they're on all the time. As soon as you connect this to the battery, they're on all the time. I don't, these new lithium batteries have so many amp hours that is it really going to deplete your battery? I don't know. I just don't want anything, a parasitic drain that runs all the time on my battery. I might, I had one of these batteries in a box for 6 or 7 months at 95% charge. I opened the box back up to put it in the cart that I'm currently building, and it still has 95%. So that's the benefit of lithium. Um, so I certainly don't want something just sitting there draining the battery. Um, so to prevent that, we're going to put this on a relay, and the only time this 12 volt converter, step down reducer rather, is going to operate is when the key switch is on. Now, I've I've heard people say, well, what if I need my accessories, on with the key switch off? It's a golf cart, so leave the key switch on. There's nothing else running. If your foot's not on the accelerator pedal, chances are nothing else is running, especially since you've got stuff like this on a relay. But if that's your thing and you want to wire this straight up, certainly just omit the relay portion of this and just wire it up. To me, I don't want it running all the time. There's a very low drain on these, and I'm sorry I don't have the uh, I don't have the statistics on that, but these things run at about a 95 to 98% efficiency, and they have a slight draw. And I just don't like things drawing with you know uh, when the cart's left unattended. So, for $10 you can switch this $20 deal, and you'll never have to worry about it again. You just get to turn the key on, and this relay will automatically click and turn this on. And that's what we're going to do today. This plate, if you're wondering, is a plate that I built, that I showed in a previous video. If you're just tuning in, um, this is for a 2000 Carryall 1 build series cart, and I built some aluminum plates to put my onboard charger on, and this configuration for my 12 volt power. So um, this is fairly simple to do. I don't be intimidated by it. There's advanced people on here watching these videos, and then there's people who um, have limited experience with things like this. So if you've done this, and if you're just looking to figure out the relay portion of this, I'll post something up on here that just shows what wire goes to what to speed this up for you advanced folks. That if you've never done this and you're looking for a step-by-step how-to on how to wire one of these up, stay with me, and I will go through this wire by wire. I had a few guys from a previous video get confused about a couple of things, and we're going to clear that up today. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a standalone panel here, and you can do it in your cart or whatever you want to do, but for illustration purposes, I took the panel out, and I'm going to build all this on the bench, and I'm going to leave it to where there's just the wires that hook up to the cart and just the accessories that hook up to the fuse box. So when I get finished with this panel, I'm going to screw it in and just hook up the wires that need to be hooked to the battery and to the key switch. So relays, why do we need a relay? There's a lot of other videos on the purposes of relays, but what we're going to do here is bypass. What we want to do is we want the key switch to activate a switch here automatically. When you turn the power on, it's going to open this relay. I'm sorry, it's actually going to close it. It's going to complete a circuit and then send power to this. So this is basically just a low power switch. Actually, it's 48 volt. So we'll get to that in a minute. The power on the key switch to a 48 volt golf cart is 48 volts. So don't put a 12 volt relay here. You need a 48 volt 4-pin relay. They make them in 4 and 5 pins. It really doesn't matter which one you get. I've used 5 pins before, and I just take out the middle pin. But the portions of this are there's 4 pins that we're going to be dealing with on this relay. The red wire is pin 87. 86 is the yellow wire. The black wire is pin 30. And the white wire is pin 85. So pretty simple. The yellow wire of this relay is going to be run to the positive side of the key switch. And I had a viewer like, well, you almost caused me to burn up my cart. I apologize. I don't know. All you're doing is adding this wire to the positive side of your key switch. Don't take anything else off. Just add this wire to the positive side of the key switch. Um, and what that's going to do is when this energizes, it's going to close this circuit so that electricity can go through it. That's all it's going to do. Okay. Um, the red side, when you close the circuit, the red is going to go to the positive side of the reducer. So now you've activated the yellow wire, you've closed the circuit, and now you have electricity going through to your converter. And if you're looking at this converter, this is your output side, positive and negative. So this is going to be, turning on the converter. So now you have your red here, you've got your yellow to the key switch. Okay. So your black wire, even though it's black, this is going to the positive side of the battery. Okay, we're going to take a lead and run this to the positive side of the battery. Okay, um, the white wire is going to the negative side of the battery. So now what you got is you've got power from the battery coming in over here. It's idle. It's idle until you activate the key switch and put electricity to this yellow wire from the key switch. Once you do that, pin 87 closes and it's going to send power to your step down reducer. This is grounded, of course. Um, this is going to send power. Now, once you have power through these things, this is your positive and negative. Now that you've activated your key switch, the red wire is sending power to the converter, and now you're energizing your fuse box. So let me take a few minutes and get this assembled. I don't want to bore you with that part. I will show it, but I'll speed it up. Um, but I will show you step by step what's going on, and then we'll go over it again when we're done. So just to review, the red pin 87 on your relay is pin 87. It's red. It goes to the positive side of your reducer. Pin 86 is yellow. It goes to the positive side of your key switch. Pin 30 is black, battery positive. It goes to your battery positive. The white pin 85 goes to the negative side of your battery. Let me get this done and we'll be right back. Okay, so we finished with that, and this is what we ought to come up with. I got 3 wires. Actually, it shows 2 there, but this is a 2 conductor wire. Uh, this is going to my positive side of my key switch, and this is positive and negative inside here for the battery. So this is what we end up with. Something I didn't show earlier was these 2 wires being put together. These are the negative, the white, and the negative from the converter box. They can be tied together and sent to the negative going to the battery lead. All right, a good way to tie these down. I've got it all bolted down to the plate now. Um, you can do this, however you want to. I prefer to have it all squared away on the plate like that. But now it's just one unit, and this goes, into the golf cart in the brackets that I made for it. Um, like we talked about, here's what's left over: positive, negative, and key switch. And that's all there is to that. A good little way I like to secure these wires that plate: just drill a couple of holes and put you some tie straps through them, and keeps everything nice and tight. I hate wires running everywhere. Uh, Now what I'll do, because I have to relocate from where the old fuse box is to where this one is going to be, I've got to build some jumpers. I think there's 4 factory circuits, so I'll build some jumpers uh, and just leave me about 1.5 feet, 2 feet of wire on each one of these, so that once I put this in there, I can do away with the other fuse box that's in the cart and just butt splice those wires in place, and I can tidy all that up. I'll go ahead and build the little jumpers that go on here so that I don't have to do it later. Okay, all assembled with the pigtails on it. It's all going down to the factory. Um, it's all going down to the factory fuse box. It's coming out, and I'll wire all the factory things in here. I went ahead and wired all 6 circuits, put all my wires down, got everything tucked away, and now it's going on the cart. Okay, so here's that fuse box. It's from the factory, and you can trace these back, but this yellow wire I believe goes to the tail lights, and there's 2 wires going up front. The blue and the green are going up front. um, I'm going to take these and I'm going to clip them, and I'm going to run them to the new piece that I just built. uh, be sure you don't cut anything else down there that's necessary. But these 4 wires on this cart, there may be 5 on yours, I don't know, whatever's going. This is a 4 uh, this is a 4 fuse block. The other one is the big positive that was running it. So I'm going to take these wires and put them on 4 of the 6 circuits that I ran for my other board over here. So I'm clipping these, and I'm going to put them on the ends of the 12 volt. They're wired to my fuse box now. So let me get situated here. And I have those. These are the wrong ones. I've got them right here. Now, because I've got all these taped up, I'm never going to know which one is which yet, but I'll trace them back down. And we'll get them fixed. And I'm going to put these back together and see what we can come up with. Okay, so all these wires are now spliced together. We've eliminated the factory fuse block down there, and I've tied all the wires from the factory fuse box to those pigtails that I put, and those run over to my now mounted uh, fuse box. So those are all the 6 pigtails that I ran. Sorry about that, can't get the camera down in here. And that's my panel. Coming off the bottom down there of that panel is, of course, the 2 positive and negative that come that go to the battery, and the 3rd wire, which goes up to the positive side of the key switch. And I left it hanging out here. Okay. Um, if your key switch looks different than these, and it has 4, all electric carts should have 2, but I run into a lot of these carts where people have put the wrong ones in them, and they'll have 4. Those are really for gas carts. If I'm not mistaken, those are the only things that took the 4 ones. Uh, the blue wire down there on the bottom on this 2-prong is the, if I can get my camera in there, the blue wire down there on the bottom usually indicates that's the positive right there on the blue wire. You take a multimeter and check it on yours. By the time you get some of these 25-year-old carts, people have changed out all kinds of wires and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, that big line right here. Anyway, so we're gonna leave everything in place and then we're gonna add this trigger wire to the relay to the bottom pin. Okay, all tidied up and buttoned back up. So a lot of people ask, what do I need to do a lithium conversion? Really, the only 2 things you need to be worried about is doing your bypass, and we'll talk about that in a minute, for your onboard computer, and taking the last negative and the first positive on your old battery pack and hooking them up. The only thing I have left here on my terminals is the 2 that we just did. That's these 2. They go down and feed all of this. I have the 2 for the charger. These run over to the onboard charger, and then I have my last negative and my positive, and that's it on the battery. There's a lot of confusion about OBCs. With a series cart, I just leave the OBC in it, especially this one, where this is a different series cart than my last one, but it has the negative going through the firewall there, coming through the OBC. Look, I already put this no-co plug in. I learned this a couple of carts ago. If you don't cut all those wires out down there, it really doesn't matter. You can take the fuse out of I tucked it underneath because I'm going to tie it up. But I didn't cut it. I just cut the face of it off and slid it back through the hole, and I'm going to tie it up down there. I didn't cut all the wires. If you cut the old plug off, you're going to have to run a negative. You're going to have to run that yellow to the one of the yellow wires, and I have another video on this. You'll have to run the yellow wire back there to the B negative terminal of the controller. Okay, you're going to have to ground it. I'm not doing anything because I left my OBC in there and it's not doing anything, and I didn't cut the wires to it, so it's still intact. And that's all you really have to do as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to take it all out. I've done all that before. It's not hurting anything to be in there. So I'm going to tidy up all these wires a bit, and what you're going to get now is, I'll be quiet here so you can hear it. When I turn the key switch on, the relay's activating and I have 12-volt power. So it's activated by the key switch. And that's all there is to that project.